Today on the Tim Marner podcast show, we've got Josh Fletcher, performance coach and the owner of Blueprint. What is Blueprint, Josh?
Career Blueprint is a company which I set up maybe 3-4 years ago now.
Yeah.
And originally it was to support performance practitioners, so anyone who worked in sport behind the scenes, like physios.
So it's called Career Blueprint.
Yeah.
That's my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's good. So S&C coaches, physios, the coaches themselves, anyone who was behind the scenes who essentially just get beaten around and taken advantage of. We that's my background. We spend a lot of time, or our whole lives, careers, focusing on everyone else's well-being, and ours just goes down the gutter. Really unregulated industry where you can be the in thing one day and gone tomorrow. There's no HR, there's no protection, there's no nothing. So I set up this company with the idea of giving practitioners support in understanding how to look after themselves a little bit more effectively, how to create their own elite performance environment, how to not give everything away to other people so there's nothing left for themselves, and how to exit the industry if that's what they're looking to do, how to progress, how to build, how to just challenge them a little bit outside of their conventional belief systems, really.
Where's that come from then? Where's your sort of journey started, Josh?
Well, I think it's just it's a relentless pursuit of more and better. So it was just non-stop, consistently more and better, always. In 2016, I fell asleep behind the wheel on the motorway, and I woke up on the side of the motorway, like accelerate down, brake down at the same time, which is actually quite tough to do if you think about how you drive a car. And I got woken up by cars going past, horns blaring, and that woke me up. And I'd hit the wall because I'm massively burnt out, and that burnout was a result of me grinding and driving really hard in an industry where I was obsessive, and there's so many people in that field who are obsessive.
What industry was it in that you were in?
I was a strength and conditioning coach, or I kind of still am. I'm transitioning into kind of the well-being and corporate well-being space now. But essentially, I'd just gone foot down, and only two things happen when you go foot down. You either hit something, if you keep your foot down long enough, or you run out of gas, and pretty much both those things happen simultaneously. And I don't say any of these stuff I'm not glorifying any of it. I'm very much anti-grind now, but it's, I was leaving the house before 6, 4 days a week, and getting back after 10, 4 days a week. And I imposed that upon myself because I was getting some real shitty treatment in the job, essentially bullied by this guy that was in a position of power and authority. My only solution was to work harder. So I doubled down. I went and got a second job to keep my love for the industry. And it's not sustainable. These things, you just can't go and eventually it'll catch up with you.
Is this why you set up Career Blueprint? Because that's happened to you, you don't want it to happen to other people?
I know that, so throughout my whole career, I've kind of been a lone ranger, so I've just done everything myself. I've never had a mentor, I just cracked on, so I've done like 15, 16 years, just like foot down, all for me, figuring everything out the hard way. And once you learn a lot from that, and there's a lot of like amazing things you can get from it and take away, it doesn't have to be that hard. Like, I picked up a lot of scars, and I've kind of described that 17 years as like crawling along the path through gravel with no shoes, nothing on your knees, just picking up all the scrapes along the way. But it leaves scars, and it leaves scars like which can be quite deep sometimes. That don't actually need to be there. Like, if you can just provide a little bit of guidance and support for people, how to create sustainability within your career, how to look after yourself, how to detach your identity from your job, how to, create boundaries and be absolutely all right with saying, no, I'm not doing that.
Talk to me about boundaries, mate. Talk to me about that, and how does somebody with little boundaries put those in place? I know it's like not a one size fits all, like, but just give me some examples of that, because it's a big thing, putting boundaries in place for yourself.
Yeah, it's massive, and it's not easy, and it's especially more difficult when you are in a role already, if it's a work-related boundary. There's two types of boundary, in my opinion anyway. There's the ones you need for yourself and like from yourself. So like I do this every day because I need to make sure that I'm in the right headspace for my day. So I'm going to say no to someone saying, do you want to come for a drink at 8:30 p.m, 9 o'clock, because I need to go to bed at this time. I'm going to make sure that I don't drink too much during the week, or I don't drink at all during the week, because I need to stay focused, like, and protecting those and being really, really strict and kind of firm with yourself. So that's like the boundaries you have from yourself and with yourself. And then I suppose the boundaries that you have with other people is like the personal and professional. The personal ones relate to what type of, I guess, energy you'll allow into your life, and what type of who you'll give time to. So you like your biggest assets really, your time, your energy, your money, your love, and your health, and like how you kind of use those and how you invest those. A lot of that comes down to boundaries. Like, I won't spend my money on that, I'll refuse. That's a boundary. I won't give time to that sort of person. That's a boundary. Like, I won't allow drama into my life. That's a boundary. I'm going to hold it at bay. So that's kind of the personal stuff. And then the professional stuff is like, I always laugh because you think about a contract, right? If you're contracted to 8 hours a day and you over deliver by an hour or two per day, over the course of a week, that's 5 additional hours, or round that up. Let's say it's, you over deliver by 8 hours a week. Like, divide your salary by 5. Your monthly salary is divided by 5. It's no longer, and that's your hourly rate now. So you're devaluing yourself. So when you kind of flip that a little bit and you put it in that different context, it just changes the way you think about it. But it's also, we're really, really awful at just saying a fast yes and a slow no. So kind of flip it and say a fast no and a slow yes, or just let me get back to you on that. Like, let me have a little think about that. When we start to step outside the remits of our job and our boundaries relating to the job description and what we're actually delivering on, we're really bad at creating more work for ourselves generally, especially in the industry that I've worked in. We're really, really bad at putting everybody else first, but also being able to communicate that with the people above. So let's say, well, I guess you are the boss, but let's say that you had a boss and your boss was saying, I need you to do this, 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 this. And you've got 3 key tasks, but they want you to do an additional 2. The conversation can be a little bit like, well, I boss, just wanted to talk to you about the workload. We've got 3 key tasks that we've kind of identified as our big priorities that we absolutely have to get done. So I've got time for one of the additional tasks out of the 5. Which one do you want me to do? And frame it as that open-ended question, and tell them or explain that you can spread yourself by 5, but everything will reduce in terms of quality because there's only X amount of hours in the day. And then you kind of put it back onto them a little bit. You have to judge what comes back at you sometimes, especially where I've worked. It's just tough to get it done, and you find a way to get it done, but you have to articulate that and be aware that that's probably the first red flag coming at you. But
what type of people are you working with, Josh?
I was just about to say assholes then. So like my background, like Olympic sport, so like GB Taekwondo, GB Water Polo, so a load of Olympic athletes. That was early in their career. Then I went into pro rugby, then moved from pro rugby into, did a bit of work in rugby league as well. Then moved to India, did a year in India, working in elite sport out there, helping set up some performance pathways in a not quite an Olympic program, but similar kind of model to that. Then I finished up that year in India, did 3.5 years in Romania with the Special Forces there.
What were you doing there?
I set up the physical and mental performance pathway for Romanian Special Forces.
What does that look like? A physical?
Bonkers, yeah, that's what it looks like.
Is it?
Yeah, so it's essentially helping to build a pathway for them to have the skills, both physical and mental, to be able to handle the rigours of what it is they need to go and do in their job, and set some foundations in place. So from a physical perspective, it would be ensuring that they if they were to drop out of selection, that they would drop out for reasons of mental weakness and not physical, so that they were robust enough to be able to handle what's going to be thrown at them during a 21-day selection process, which, if you've seen the program Who Dares Wins, it's very similar, just a little bit more violent in real life.
What sort of mental things are you putting in place? What does that look like for Special Forces?
Yeah, so it was towards the back end of the project that we started zooming in on that. Like, the physical was the biggest problem initially, and then at the back end it's like, okay, we've got some relatively solid foundations down. What can we do to turn the dial a little bit in other areas? So I was fortunate enough to go on a course with NATO Special Forces headquarters, which was mental performance and resilience, and we just did a lot of work, which is now what I personally do in my career group in business. We did a lot of work around stress management, and we did a lot of work around self-awareness, self and situational awareness. So it was helping the recruits that we're working with and the operators we're working with to understand that you can respond to stress and you don't have to react to it, and drilling that. So drilling it to the nth degree over and over and over.
Can you talk to me about that, mate, what you just said then? Because that's a big thing, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
How does somebody do that? How do you teach yourself to do that, not reacting?
Yeah. So there's a strategy that they use called the 3 R's. So recognise, reset and refocus. So the 3 R's of stress management. So you recognise there's a stressful situation going on. So let's say, well, I'm sat here and I've got 2 cameras poking at me. We've just met. I've got a microphone in my face. I'm recognising this is a stressful situation. Now I'm accepting that. I've got an internal dialogue basically saying, yeah, you're under some stress here, or accepting that, and we understand that that's what's going on. So the next phase is to reset. So I'm going to do something physical. I know that if I hold my stress up here, I'm going to relax my shoulders. I'm going to breathe out for a little bit longer than I breathe in for, so a longer exhalation than inhalation. And I'm going to do, like I've done this a couple of times in this conversation already, which is me just having some sort of physical cue to snap out of the stressful situation. So it can be anything. It can be, you can be biting the corner of your tongue, you can push down on the top of your thumb, you can pinch 2 fingers together.
So what does that do? It actually just
gets you out of your mind into your body. So it's the same as the breath work we were briefly talking about before we started. It gets you out of your mind into your body, and it buys you that little bit of time to choose what your next first step is, or your first next step.
I like that.
So you essentially drill this over and over and over and over and over.
You're almost like kind of grounding yourself and bringing yourself
100%.
Back to centre.
100%. It buys you that little bit of time to stop going down the rabbit hole, stop telling yourself stories, stop going with your biases, and stop creating things that don't exist.
Powerful.
The past doesn't exist, and the future doesn't exist. It's just what you got now. So everything's about bringing yourself back in. So you're refocusing that by doing something to bring you back in. A lot of the guys will have a snap band as well. So like a little elastic band here, they'll snap, and that like little physical shock just pulls you out of here just for a split second and back into your body. Breath is really, really powerful. So the military guys use a lot, like loads of different variations, and it's just a part of what they do.
What kind of variations are they using?
They'll use box breathing, so that'll be a great method to get out of the mind into the body and just regulate things, down-regulate. They'll use some coherence breathing, so like 4-4-6-6, so some things that are level and the same, like 6-6 is a good model for that. They'll use the calming and refocusing style of breathing, which would be a longer exhalation than inhalation. So in for 3, out for 4, in for 4, out for 6, and then they'll use pauses within that cycle as well, double sip, so like in twice through the nose, out through the mouth, to really kind of separate, you can't separate mind from body, but get out of your head for a bit, a very short space of time, and it's just enough to do the last part, which is the refocus, that kind of the reset is the physical, the refocus is like, okay, what is it I need to be doing? What is it I'm supposed to be doing? And what is my next first step? So what's the next smallest thing I can do to get myself back on track to what it is I need to be doing? And that process can take minutes, it can take days, it can take seconds. Like not days, sorry, it can take seconds, split seconds. So that model there, imagine the military operators, they're outside the door, they're clearing a house, meaning they've got to go in and they've got to take out whatever, they've got to complete an objective, take out targets, like the hostage situation. And something happens to one of their team members before they go in, and they've got a split second to reset, to recognise, reset and refocus. They've got literally seconds before they have to go in and do something which is life or death. These guys have drilled that strategy and that mechanism to such a point where they can go in and do what they need to do to the level they need to do, and almost kind of taxi rank the stressful situation and deal with it later. It's incredible. So that's the level that you can get to. And I've got a really good example of myself recently, like having to implement this in what I'd previously thought would have been one of the most stressful situations I could be in. I left my laptop on a plane, and I lost about a year and a half's worth of work. The whole of my business career blueprint gone. Like gone. The file was just no longer there. I saved it all in Dropbox. Well, I thought I had, but no, gone. Couldn't get the laptop back, couldn't get the files back. And not only that, but I'd lost 8 months worth of work that I'd just done for a new contract job I was on. And I'm like, okay, it's a pretty stressful situation. And I just went through that process and then check back in. How am I feeling? Well, pretty damn stressed still. Okay, start again. How am I feeling? Yep, same. Start again, round and round. And within a really short space of time, I'd accepted what had gone on. I'd understood that this is an opportunity now, an opportunity for me to do the work again but better, an opportunity for me to clear all the noise that was in all of those files and just zoom in on what actually is going to, bring me business. And it was a really interesting process to actually see it live, and it's something I've been working on a lot for myself in the past 2 years. But to see it happen, I was like kind of really proud of the work that had to go in to getting that done after with such a stressful situation. So it really does work. It's really, really powerful stuff.
I know we talked about before about your sort of morning routine and stuff, mate. What is your morning routine? Putting everything that you've learned and practicing on yourself is a big thing, isn't it? Because, I was talking to someone the other way, so it's all right listening to podcasts and reading books, but if you're not doing anything within them for yourself, it's like, what's the point in doing it just so you can tell someone else?
Yeah, work on yourself is the hardest work you'll ever do. It's the hardest work I've ever done in my life. Like, I don't think there's anyone who will be listening to this who's never done hard work. Like, we've all been exposed and done hard work. We've done physical work, we've done mentally challenging work. We've all done hard work, but the hardest work I've ever done in my life is on myself, because you've got to do it for yourself. You've got to want to, you've got to understand it. You've got to really dig in, and it's like an onion. But what people don't really think about when an onion is that the closer to the actual centre you get, the more it's going to make you cry, the more upsetting it is. Not upsetting to peel an onion, but the more challenging it is to peel an onion. It gets harder and harder and harder because the feelings are deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And you get to the root cause. Once you finally get to the root cause, that's the point at which you're there. But guess what? Like, something else will come up, and something else, and then it's just a continual journey. It just doesn't stop. So your morning routine, and I talk a lot about this. The morning routine is the best morning routine is the one that someone will do consistently and sustainably. The one that gives them something that resonates with them, that allows them to feel what they want, which is focus, which is clarity, which is positivity, which is out your own head, which is like starting the day off how you truly want to, but maybe understand how you want to start your day before you start building your routine. So I'm happy to share my routine, but that won't mean that much to everybody else because it might not be for everyone else. I've actually just written a little ebook on mastering your morning. It's called the Anti 5 a.m. Club, because everyone thinks you've got to get up at 5 a.m. because these flipping influencers go and say you've got to start at 4:30 and you've got to do this.
Which are dimfluencers.
Yeah, because they are. It's just ridiculous. And people just go, I'm going to do that, but it's totally not aligned with someone's responsibilities and their commitments. So they start it and then they feel like shit because they can't complete it. They can't stick with it. So whether you're, I call them a darter, an organizer, or a ponderer. So a darter is someone who's up and out within 30 minutes. Like, they don't hang around, they're gone. You've got an organizer, which is like that kind of 30 to 60 minutes, like from the minute they wake up until they get gone. And then you've got the guys who are, like somewhere in 90 minutes. And each person within then, there's opportunities to kind of shoehorn something in for yourself, some sort of well-being. And people will think, well, hang on a minute, how can I look after myself, do some sort of proactive, intentional well-being when I'm up and out within 30 minutes and I've got commitments? Well, I'm pretty sure everybody brushes their teeth every day. Like the vast majority of people have a shower. There's absolutely no reason why we can't be intentional about those activities and like almost ground ourselves doing those things. There's no reason why we can't put some sort of background noise or music on. There's no reason why we can't have our cup of coffee and do some intentional breath work. Like there is always an opportunity to kind of shoehorn some work in. And that's when we come back to the question about work, it's tough, but you've got to find a way to do it. It's a little bit like physical training. If you don't actually find some time to do some physical activity, then it's not going to happen. It doesn't just work on its own. If you want to improve your circumstance, you've got to put the work in. But I've gone round the houses with my morning routine. I've done just about anything and everything there is to try. But the things that really resonate with me are I'll wake up now. At the moment, I'm doing some sort of affirmations, which is actually a 10-minute recording of me speaking a bunch of sentences about...
Like what do you mean, Josh?
I am calm, I am patient, I'm needed, I'm wanted, I'm loved, I am... what's the other one? Something about... I'm dedicated, I'm disciplined with my tasks, because I'm a terrible procrastinator. And just sentences similar to those, like big profound things that maybe resonate with you, maybe that show up in the things that trigger you and challenge you. Yeah. And I've recorded myself saying them just on a voice note on my phone, and then every morning before bed, and using that kind of subconscious window first thing in the morning and last thing at night, I'll just press play, and that'll be the first thing I do.
So the subconscious thing in the morning when you're waking up, you're saying the subconscious is still open.
Yeah.
You're still, talk to me a little bit about that, mate.
Oh, mate, it's just free. It's just free programming. It's just easy. It's a way to get your subconscious brain, which is always running, is always soaking up like every single piece of stimulus that's been thrown at us. But in the morning, it's particularly open to influence.
You're kind of still in the dream state where it's still open.
Yeah, it's that phase between like being asleep and kind of going about your business on the day. Like my brain wakes up real quick, so I'm almost like bing. Yeah. I've got a really small window to roll over, press play, and then stay with it and try to then focus on every single word I'm saying within it's my own voice, so that resonates really well with us. We don't know the difference between someone else saying it and ourselves. So it's a really, really powerful way to tap in and get that subconscious brain to actually do some work for us proactively and us to program it. We've got to kind of unlearn a lot of things that have happened to us in our pasts and that we've been programmed towards through childhood, relationships, trauma, all these sorts of things. So it's a real opportunity and one that we don't really tap into enough. So that subconscious window is something that I really try and utilise, and I would always encourage everybody to. And the affirmations is a dead simple way to do that. 10 minutes, just about every day for me. And I'm probably an organiser, so somewhere between that like 0 to 60 minutes up and out the door. Then I will do some sort of breath work depending on what I want. So if I've got a little bit more time, I'll do a longer one. So that'll be kind of some sort of regulator. I just pick off YouTube. There's a really good YouTube channel which I use, and I like the guy. He resonates with me, the way he's saying, so I just stick with his stuff.
What's that called?
I only know him as Sandy. If anyone wants to check, just put.
Yeah, I think I've known Sandy the long hair.
Sandy breathwork. He's always got no top on.
Yeah.
And he's happy. He's got a nice sounding voice. I'm like, hey, sounds cool. We'd have a nice chat.
Yeah, I think it's Breathe with Sandy, the YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. Just Breathe with Sandy. Type that in.
Yeah.
So I choose which one. So it's either a morning one, which would be like.
What are your thoughts on doing sort of holotropic breathing in the morning?
Yeah, fine.
Whatever works for anybody.
Yeah,
Whatever
it
works
depends.
for you.
You need time, and if you do that type, you need to have a bit of time after to get yourself back to a level state. Yeah, because it is a stressor. So get yourself back to a level state. And I do that when I have a bit more time. So if I've got a long block, then and no kind of commitments, then that's what I'll do. And it's if I've got less time, then I'll do a shorter one. But I kind of really like the ones that have 2 speeds, so like a in through the nose, belly, chest,
alkaline.
Yeah, and then I'd go, and then it would go like double speed, and then there's a hold.
Yeah.
So I do really well off the holds, and build up. So a short one would be like this morning's was like 130 holds, and then the long ones would be like 3 minutes, but that takes up to like 25 minutes to get into, and you've got to go through a process for that. Then occasionally, if I just want a total reset, I'll go with like a 35-40 minute one. Not hold, because I'll be brown bread, wouldn't I? But like a 35 and 40 minute session, which is great. But one thing I always tell people about a morning routine is, like, I got stuck big time once when I had a 3-part routine, and I had some meditations in there, I had some reading, I had like just about like 3 or 4 bits to it. And one day I didn't set my alarm, and I woke up and I was in an absolute pickle. Like I just had to rush out the house, straight in the car, and bomb it straight to work. I got to work and I was a mess. It's like I was really missing the fact I'd not done it, because I had no agility in my morning routine. Agility, not like I'm nimble, I can change direction. I mean, like, what happens if you can't do it? I've got a kid as well, so as a single dad, like, if he comes in the room and I'm halfway through my breathing and he pokes me because he wants to get up and play, that's it, done. So I can't have my day and my morning be sidetracked by doing or not doing my morning routine.
Yeah.
So that was a real good cue for me to
a lot of people beat themselves up, don't they, about not being able to get to the gym or not like achieving these things in the morning.
It's just pressure. It's unnecessary pressure. And even when he did that, or when he does that, because he still does it regularly, there's always a way. If I'm going to have a shower, then I'll do something in the shower, or I'll turn the shower onto cold, or just have a cold shower. If I'm going to brush my teeth, I'll change hands and I'll concentrate on and count the strokes of how many times I brush my teeth. I'll do something to pull myself back in. Yeah. So there's always something you can do, but that whole derailing my day, and the only way I got it back on track was doing some sort of exercise, incidentally. Like, derailing my day was just really kind of shook me a little bit, that I needed that, and I'd become so reliant on that my day wasn't functioning in the same way. It's just can't be like that. So build in some agility based on, the situations that can and do show up. So
it's that consistency, isn't it? There's no point having a morning routine if you're not going to carry on with it. So you've got to do what really works for you.
Yeah, you do, absolutely, and I think that's critical. But equally, it is a bit like saying you want to go to the gym every day of the year, but you miss 2 days. In January the 2nd or January the 1st, you miss January the 1st, you don't just wipe out the whole rest of the year. Yeah. And you miss a day in like November, you don't just throw the whole year out the window. Oh, it's all screwed. Like, damn it, I've fluffed it already.
Why do people do that to themselves?
I just think we just put so much pressure. It's unrealistic expectations. Like, expectations are an absolute killer. Expecting something of us that's totally unrealistic and not. There's a really cool phrase that I heard, which is...
Are they trying to prove something to themselves or other people?
Probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
I think we just set these crazy goals, and most people don't stick to their New Year's resolutions. Most people don't stick to their goals and targets. Why not just start super simple and just say, I want to get up and go to the gym once a week. Yeah. And I want to do something at home and just build into it.
Do you call it a routine, or do you say these are the habits that I've got, or say this is my plan? How do you phrase that?
I don't. I just say.
You don't put a label on it.
I just like, what do you call?
Because everyone says, it's a morning routine, and I'm like,
what do you call brushing your teeth? What do you call having breakfast? It's just you just do it. Like, coffees, you have a coffee. You don't have a coffee, you get in the car. You do the same things. If you put a label on it, then it's. If you want to put a label, do. If you don't, you don't. But I just think we just overcomplicate things. Like, I think there's simplifiers and complicators, or I'm a simplifier, or simpleton, but essentially I just try and keep everything as simple as possible and remove barriers to doing something.
Yeah.
So
there is a thing going around, what's your morning routine? What's your morning routine? And it's like become I don't know, is it like a masculine ego thing, or my morning routine? I'm just like...
17 steps and it takes me 4 hours. All right, cool, good for you.
Yeah.
But no, so if it doesn't, like what worked for Harry doesn't work for Barry. So like you've got to find what works for you and enjoy going on some sort of explorative, curious journey with it and just figuring out what works for you.
Yeah, why are you doing it in the first place?
Yeah, but understanding like what you're going to get out of the breath work, different types, what you might get out of some sort of cold water, what you get out of journaling, what you get out of it, like and engage with those feelings so you can understand. I'm all for giving people the tools and understanding how to use them. So a lot of people, I've got a lot of clients I work with from business and coaches as well who are kind of wanting to look after themselves, create a little bit more sustainability, understand some of their habits, behaviours, relationship with stress and pressure. And we just talk about the types of things that they like to do, what they want to do, but then just trying to really dig in and understand why. What do you feel you're going to get out of that? What's the reason behind that? Like I had a guy who said he wants to retire at 50. And I said, well, why do you want to retire at 50? Well, I want to be able to set my kids up and then have a comfortable life. What is it you have to give up or at the expense of in order to achieve that goal? And is what you're doing, the pathway that you're on, the right way to do it, and reverse engineer it all the way back to your daily habits and behaviours. And he kind of went through that process and he's like, yeah, firstly, there's absolutely zero chance I'm retiring at 50 with what I'm doing right now, financially. Okay. Secondly, the amount of time and money, the amount of time and energy I'd have to put into that would take me away from what I've got in front of me right now. So essentially, I'll be living my life for the future, and I'm just sat here in silence as he's kind of talking this stuff out loud. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it, when you do that?
Yeah, just
keep asking them why questions.
Yeah.
Like what you said about the onion, why? Just keep getting right down to that hardcore. And like you say, you get to that dark core and then another fucking layer happens and you're just like, not again, we'll start for another one.
But the thing is, like, so many of us don't ask those questions. Or we don't go down, it's not that we don't go down the rabbit hole, but we don't know how to, and it's uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. It's just, you unleash another layer, you're just like, Jesus Christ, like, we go again?
Yeah.
We've just done this.
Yeah.
But each time you do it, it's almost like you can't see it until something big happens. Like I had this super proud moment about losing my laptop. So it didn't hit me like out the blue, like a punch in the face. It was more of a, wow, like I was on a night flight as well. So I hadn't slept. So that's like, I was super, everything in that situation was charged. I was ill. And it was, a super proud moment to say like this is a result, my reaction to this is a result of all the work that's been done.
What was just sort of Josh like before all this work? Were you kind of like a ego gym, like?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because stress, the relationship with stress is what I'm kind of really intrigued by now, and I'm almost kind of got to know and like stress.
So you're very reactive.
I was kind of defined by what I did for a living, and my identity was very much tied into being a coach. Right. I used to describe myself as Mr. More and Better. I was obsessive, but not that, like that wanker statement, like obsession is the word used by the lazy to describe the dead at night. Like I mean obsessed to the point where the job that I was doing was impacting every area of my life. I was obsessed by the logo and the badge that I had on my chest. If it was Bradford Bulls, or if it was like Special Forces or F2 Motorsport or the team champions or like all this sort of, and I felt like it made me like something special, but it doesn't really mean a thing. And my kid certainly doesn't give two shits whether I work for them. He just only really cares whether I'm present and whether I'm with him when I'm with him, whether I'm present or not. But I wasn't present I was a shadow of the person that I knew and liked from years before, and slowly kind of like removed and moved away from that person who I kind of knew and quite liked. He was alright, he was a good guy, and it's just taken time to get back to that. And I just got to a point where I'd become like a magnet for drama, and like drama and like stress loves drama, so they stick together. And I was this absolute magnet, just soaking up drama from everywhere. And my life was just a mess. It was all over the place. And last kind of 2 years have been the not awakening, but I got to the point where enough was enough, and separated from my boy's mum, which was a large source of stress and drama for me. And went about trying to build a life that I actually want, and that's a life I want, is to have enough time and money to spend with the people I love, doing the things I love, and that's all I want. But you have to build that, and you have to create it from, and you have to look in the right places to build it. If you sat over here trying to create something, but everything you need to build that is it's over there, then stop looking over there. You have to start looking in the right places. And I just spent so many years looking in the wrong places and getting buried in the sport world. So it's a little bit like having an affair at sport. Like, you think that it's a bit like having a drug.
Yeah.
It can be addictive. It can be like you think you're getting great things from it because it's just about giving you enough to feel special and valued and wanted and needed and like you're important. But really, like, that is what you've got at home with your actual partner and in your family. That's what's there, not the affair or the drugs. So just being able to identify and kind of detach myself from that and understand that it's not all about sport, and it's been pretty revelationary for me, really.
And has that just been a really long process of like you sitting with yourself asking the questions?
No, we mentioned Kev O'Neill, so I
shout out to Kev.
Yeah, big shout out to Steph, and big shout out to Steph as well.
Steph, shout out to all Steph.
We went to a session with Kev together, and then I went back to a session with Kev, and I've done other bits and pieces, but a lot of the stuff I just did for myself. I just went down a pathway and I stuck with it, and I did 21 days of this guy's type of meditations or way of thinking, applying morning and night in the day, breath work, like just hours a day, but could also do it within the confines of what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. But I was also teaching these things to people as well. And I just started to look back and I thought, well, what is it I learned with the military guys? What was I delivering to them? What did I then go and deliver to the Formula 2, Formula 3 racing drivers all around, like, on the circuit? Why don't I just super zoom in on those tactics and strategies, pick 2 or 3, and just go hard at them, like really, really hard, and just hold myself accountable. And another massive thing which I had to create was self-compassion. That didn't exist. I would never speak to another person how I would always speak to myself and treat myself. So that journey towards like liking / loving yourself, which people talk about a lot, is a journey.
People just put it out there, love yourself, but like to really do that, it's
look,
awful.
If everyone's like totally honest with themselves, anyone who's listening to this, like, how many people can actually hand on heart say that they love themselves? And I think it'd be very few. And because it takes a lot.
Yeah, truly love yourself.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of work. I mean, I don't. I'm now getting to the point where I'm starting to like myself, but like, it takes so long. And it might sound a bit silly to say that, but when we actually sit back and think, do I? What is it I do like about myself? Why? And there'll be some people going, yeah, actually, not so keen. But maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point to start having a look at some of the work that can be done. It's not a judgmental thing. It's almost like waking up. It's like I started seeing things in colour, and behind you I could see all the colour. And it's like for years I wouldn't have felt like I could see that colour. And it's kind of like seeing everything in black and white.
Yeah.
And then slowly you start to awaken. I remember so many instances where I'm like, wow, is this what things can be like? Is this what like, you know, presence feels like? Is this what presence with my kid feels like? Is this what like love feels like? Is this how a collaboration conversation is supposed to be? Wow. So self-compassion, vulnerability was huge, like actually put the story out there. So hopefully other people can listen and listen in and say, wow, this guy burnt out, or this guy had a tough period of time where he had to double down and do all this work on self to try and build a life he wants. He exited here, he did all this, and yeah, I'm hoping that telling the story just helps a few people along the way. And certainly a lot of the people I talk to are kind of understanding how to look after themselves a little bit better. I spent years and years not putting everyone else's well-being before my own. So you have to unlearn that and then relearn something else. So.
What's the common factor that you see cropping up with people that you're working with? Is there one thing that you keep seeing over and over again that people aren't doing?
Yeah, two things really. It's a lack of understanding of self, and almost like what you want and why, and who you are. So most people haven't stripped things back and haven't gone and done any sort of work on understanding who they are and what they want, and what's the life they want to lead. So I've got another document which I give out to the people I work with and to anybody really. It's I call it a career crossroads document, but you can take the career off that and just call it a crossroads. So it's what do you actually want now and next, and what do you definitely not want now and next, personally and professionally. And then you don't have to know that I want to be working for Man United as the kit man, or I want to be, you know, a tree planter in the Amazon, but you have to know the types of things personally and professionally that you want and don't want now and next. Like, I want to be free on weekends, I don't want to work evenings, I want to have enough money to go on holiday twice a year. Like these things that you think, yeah, I know that I want that. And then you can start making your decisions in line with that and helping and supporting people on that process to truly understand self and see where they are now.
Is it strange that I find that strange that people don't ask them questions? I don't know, maybe it's just me because I do that quite a bit, but I feel a bit sad that people don't do that for themselves.
Yeah, everybody's got their own path and journey. We've all been exposed to different things.
But do they actually ask themselves that question out aloud, or is it just there? You know what I mean?
I'd be surprised if there wasn't people, like the vast majority of people that are doing that in their head and they're not speaking about it. And blokes are probably, well, it's a generalisation. I've never been a woman, so I wouldn't know. Yeah. But essentially, like, what do I actually truly want? And can I articulate that? Yeah. And do I know that that's what I want? Why do I want it? And how am I going to build that? So once you have that understanding, it's then, again, that phrase reverse engineering, breaking it into small parts, down to macro level, down to daily.
Powerful, aren't they?
Tasks.
Really powerful.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
And if people don't know, then that's absolutely fine. But what I would say is just get a blank piece of paper and just start asking some questions. What do I actually want? And then see what you write down, and then just quiz it. Why?
What type of people do you work with then? Do you work with anybody?
Yeah, so I've got work with some partners at global corporates. I work with a lot of coaches. I work with some team managers and people from the motorsport world. I work with consultants in the financial industry, so all sorts of different people. I think people in sport resonate to my background because I've been there and done it, and then I've experienced the highest highs, lowest lows that you can in that field.
Would you describe yourself as a life coach? What is that? I know it's a bit of a... I don't want to label you, but it is literally you're giving people life skills, aren't you?
All I want for people, and anyone can put whatever label they want on me, I want for people is to understand how stress and pressure is showing up in their life and how they can take a little bit more control of that. and I want to help and give people the skills to prioritise their own well-being so that they can show up as a person that they want to be for their friends, family, job, everything. And I want to try and change a few myths and misconceptions around this work-life harmony, which is essentially the more focus you place outside of your job and your work, the more abundance, progression and growth you're going to experience in work, and helping people and showing people what that actually can look like.
Yeah.
And simplifying it down to the absolute base level. It's like, here's a bunch of options that we can do in the morning, or you can do in the morning and the evening. What resonates with you? What do you want to try? Here is a bunch of stress management tactics. How do you feel about these? Try them for a week. Let's get back in touch and then see how you get on with those. Here's a bunch of different perspectives around boundaries and work-life harmony. Here's a bunch of different thoughts and ideas around burnout prevention and where you're at right now. Here's a bunch of ideas around identity and seeing what it is you actually want to achieve. So I don't really know what I am, just a dude who wants to help people. I don't know what the slogan is. It's like, helper. I'm a helper.
He's literally a life coach, isn't he? But it's just like, it's been tainted with things. It's like, you see a lot of life coaches who haven't actually been through a life yet.
I don't know. For me, like, I've sat back and there's always this like massive, like, everyone gets it. There's not a person who doesn't.
It's so hard, mate, because you have got to market yourself and you got to, people have got to find you. So I don't know if the people who really need you are looking for a performance coach, they're actually looking for a life coach, are the ones that really, really need your help. But it's, again, it's an hard one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. I step back and I think everybody gets this like kind of self-belief issue sometimes when they're like, well, what have I got to offer? And I've had conversations with people before and they're like, are you serious? Like, you've worked with some of the highest performers on the planet. And during that military role, I actually lived with retired SF operators. And I think at one point I was sat in a room and there was like 57 years worth of like tier one, talking like, top boys, 57 years of experience, and I'm sat there like, and we're having imposter syndrome going absolutely wild, but and I'm thinking, and I'm telling these stories to people, I'm telling these stories to people, and they're like, what do you mean you haven't got anything to offer?
Yeah.
And then I take some of those things into motorsport and I help set up the programs and Olympic sport, pro sport, like bullying, burnout, identity tied up in jobs, like all these huge challenges, and people say, what do you mean you've got nothing to offer? You should probably have a look at that. Okay, and then I just start working with some people, and then it's just morphed into what I do now, which is where the real passion for me lies. It's just helping people, and I really get a buzz from it, and just giving people a different perspective. It's great.
What's one of the things that have really, one sort of story that's really always stayed with you?
From the people that I help work with?
Yeah. Are you allowed to say?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what would be the most appropriate one. I had lots of people from the military setting, the recruits who were going through the pipeline. So they go through 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks physical training with us, work on some of their physical skills and mental skills, and then they're going into the selection process, which is the most savage, like disgraceful 21 days you can imagine, of restricted calorie intake and restricted sleep to stress inoculation, is to put them under so much stress that they crumble through mental weakness, not physical. And just to mount on that stress and pressure. And one of the recruits afterwards, he got through and he qualified, and he said, if it wasn't for some of the conversations that we had around stress management and compartmentalizing what stress is and some of the small bits of work, then he would have never got through. And that always kind of really, really sat well with me. I always liked the fact that I've helped that guy to achieve what he'd always dreamt of doing. I'm a tiny little cog in that machine, but like that's what he decided he wanted to do. I also had quite recently somebody not apply for a job not accept a job that was 45% more than he was already on because it didn't align with his values, which is big. It wasn't in line with what the path that he's on.
Wow.
I've had
that's amazing, that, mate.
I just thought, this is a proud moment.
Yeah.
That he's made that decision. He's come to it for himself. I had another dude have people shouting at him for like quite recently, actually, hour and a half shouting at him about something that some situation he was involved in at work, and he was able to control himself and stay calm.
Not react to it.
Yeah, respond and not react.
Big, mate, innit? Not reacting.
Oh, it's massive. But the reaction, like for me, like I talk for myself here now. Reaction is massively entwined with emotion, and every single reaction I've had that's formed from an emotion, like has an emotion attached to it, has never served me ever.
Yeah.
So actually doing what I need to do, which is detach myself from the emotion and do the work to lower my stress threshold, my set point, get that lower. And also, like, the example I always give is like, imagine if 8 out of 10 is when you lose your shit, like all bets are off, tables are flying, teas everywhere, like you imagine 8 out of 10 is when you could just go. Life is stressful. We always walk around at I don't know, anywhere from a 2 to a 4, 2 to a 5, depending on what we have going on in our lives. But we want to get that as low as we possibly can, so it's close to a 2. We need stress in our life. It's an important part of our life. Otherwise we get bored, we get disengaged, and we just lose interest. So we want to get that 5 down to a 2 so that you've got from 2 to an 8 before you absolutely lose your head. Because the more numbers you have to climb through, the longer it's going to take to get there. Most people don't go from a 2 to an 8 that quickly, and the quicker you can come back down as well. So throughout the day, we go up and down, up and down, up and down, but we don't want to go up and down to an 8. We want to go, 2 to 6, 2 to 6, 2 to 4, 2 to 5, 2 to 6, and be able to come up and down and use these tactics to stop stress compounding and turn it into this big ass transformer. Just imagine sticking all the different parts onto a transformer and it becomes something monster that you can't control. That's when it becomes intolerable. And that's the sort of stuff that I really like, helping people to avoid that compounding and releasing it like the pressure valve, turning it throughout the day, and the tips and strategies for that. And this guy.
So you're going from 2 to 6, 2 to 6, and it's just compounding.
No, that's natural, but you need to get from the 6 back down to the 2. You need some sort of intervention, and it might be. Okay, let's go.
Right, okay.
It might be as simple as that. It might be go for a cup of tea. It might be go to the toilet and, I don't know, do some mindful peeing or something like that.
Right. Just taking yourself out of the situation. Yeah,
you don't have to remove yourself. You just need to not react in a way that's not going to serve you. So you can't always remove yourself. If you ask me something and I'm right now, I'm not going to say, I'll just nip to the toilet. I've got to do something right now in this moment to bring myself down. If I'm right, I'm getting to a 7, 8 here. I need to do something in the moment to get myself back down. So that might be one of the strategies. It might be releasing wherever the stress is being held. But the compounding takes place when you don't put that mini intervention in during the day, in the moment.
Right.
So put the interventions in place that work in the moment. Then get to the end of the day, you need something like medium level. So I call it micro, meso, macro. So the meso might be a daily or within a week. So a daily might be the recovery strategies are important as the stress. So the recovery is I'm switching off, intentional switch off, phone gone, connection, I'm reading, I'm journaling, I'm having a connected conversation with my partner, I'm having some physical contact, I'm not going straight for a screen, or if I want to go for a screen I'm going to, but that's not going to be my go-to switch off. I'm not reaching for the unhealthy habit that I've got into with the booze, with the screens, with the scrolling. I'm going to do something which I know I need to, which is going to reset me. Same as an athlete intentionally recovering. An athlete doesn't recover by going in from a day's run, by going and having another run in the evening. They sleep, they rest, they recover, set their sleep up for success. All these tiny little things, that's the micro and the meso level, to reset themselves so that they go to the next day at a 2 again. not they go in at a 3 or a 4, because then they don't have as far to go with their 3 6 3 6 3 6
Right,
4 6 4 6 4 6. And then the macro is the holidays. Like, wouldn't it be great if we could all get stressed and then go on the beach to the Bahamas and chill, like every 2-3 days? Well, we can't, can we? So booking in those breaks and those big switch offs, and then being real strict with like the actual switching off during those times. That's the kind of 3-part strategy: micro, meso, macro, for managing and dealing with that stress, I suppose.
Yeah,
just intentional about it.
Yeah, reacting to things that trigger you though, that are from trauma. That's really where it's at, isn't it? And you know what? I try to, when something's triggering now, kind of leave it and then go, right, you need to ask yourself a question there, why that triggered you. And that's what I try and do in the morning, is ask myself that question: why did that trigger you? Well, why did you feel like that? Well, why do you think that felt like that? Well, where that? And just kind of go down that. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I think sometimes I wholeheartedly agree, and I do that. I do that process as well, but we can get caught up in just always wanting to understand why.
Yeah. And
we can get caught up in thinking about trying to figure something out rather than just actually cracking on and living and just accepting, like, that's just the way it is. Like, it gets me because of that. But more often than not, it's going to be connected to the same sorts of things.
Yeah.
And it might be that you can do that, like, for example, I can do that process really quick now, and I can go through that and understand, like, yeah, it's because of that. All right. Well, do you want to talk about that later? Like almost a conversation?
Yeah,
no, not really. Okay, cool. Crack on with your day then.
Cool,
As opposed to, or I'll go and write it down. So instead of having this massive dialogue with myself about it, I'll write it down, and I'll look at the notes in my phone because I might be on the move, and say, right, well, I'll write something down on paper about that. And then I'll look at what my triggers were, or what like got in my head. And I think, okay, I'm going to pick 2 of those, and I'm going to write until I can't write anymore on what those 2 things are. And then I'm going to rip the page out and tear it up, and I'm going to throw it in the bin. And I do this all the time. It's brilliant. It's almost like...
set it on fire, like...
Yeah, and set it on fire, rip it up, throw it in the bin, whatever it is you want to do. I
doesn't serve you anymore, that.
I often do this on planes. Well, I have to because I ain't got a laptop now. But before, like, writing it out, going, exercising the chimp, getting it all out, and then it's gone. And then I'm like, wow, I feel about a stone lighter. My shoulders are back, everything's down, relaxed and cool and chilled. It's amazing. It's just really powerful stuff. And I think sometimes that's almost a healthier way than keep going, why? Because the why is always wanting to understand something, and as opposed to just accepting that is the way it is. And every time we go down the why route, we open it up again to help it heal, but we always open it up.
Yeah.
The journaling and the writing things down is a really simple, non-judgmental, like, way to respond to that trigger. And I use a phrase like taxi rank. So put it in the taxi rank, and that appeases my brain. Like, if I'm losing my head about something, I'm like, well, right now I can't respond to that. I can't react to that because I've got stuff to do. I'm with my boy, I'm at work. So I'll taxi rank it.
What do you mean, taxi rank it?
Put it in the taxi rank, and you wait your turn, and then you just put it to the back like a list of things. It's like a to-do list, but I actually say, I'm taxi ranking that. And in the taxi rank, all the cars are queued up, and each car is like something you want to think about, a process, a problem, an issue. And by the time you actually get round to thinking about what's in your taxi rank, like half the cars are gone. They're not important anymore. But it's not what you deal with right now, but you're appeasing yourself by saying, I'll deal with that later, or put it in the bank, something like that. And it just calms the kind of inner voice, the inner dialogue, the inner monologue. And it's a really kind of effective way to not allow things to compound. Compounding is so huge. I started to think about it recently. It's like
I've never thought of it compounding, but you're absolutely right.
Tax and interest is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Right? I literally had this thought the other day, and I'll write something about it at some point. Tax and interest. What's the tax? everything has a tax and everything potentially has interest. So the questions that you have in the morning that you ask yourself, there's a tax on it, which is probably the time and the mental energy, the emotion that's required to get into that. And then the interest is what you'll get out of it, like healing that wound a little bit more, like a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So that compounding interest that you're getting off doing
it's good that
is
way,
huge.
Yeah.
But with the tax and interest, do they level out?
Yeah.
Like, is what you're getting worth the input?
Very good point.
It could be anything relating to your well-being.
It's a nice way of putting that, isn't it? I really like that.
But it works with anything. And again, I'm kind of thinking about this as I'm going, but think about like a sauna, think about a steam room, think about an ice bath, think about what costs time, what costs money. And actually, when we think of self-care, like the vast majority doesn't cost a great deal and it isn't that time intensive. The vast majority of the most impactful work, it doesn't cost that much time or money. But it's not the sexy stuff down there, is it? That sitting in silence, that deep like introspection, the journaling, like it's just not sexy, is it?
Yeah.
We want to
go. This on Instagram, I'm going to sit quiet.
Yeah.
I'll put this on Instagram, me sitting quiet.
Yeah.
I'll be writing in a book.
It's not sexy, it doesn't sell. But the like one big phrase, I think it's either Jay Shetty or Mel Robbins or somebody like that. It said that the work that we really need to do is the work we're avoiding. And it's true. It's really true. Yeah,
and it's just like, what is the work? You know what I mean? It's like, I always thought the gym, cold water and breathing was the work. And then when I did more of the looking inwards, I thought, no, this is the work. Because this is horrible. Because I don't want to do this. I can go to gym, it's piss, easy. Cold water, it's easy.
You know what? It's hard to make. It's getting harder and harder to make a healthy decision and choice these days. It's getting harder and harder. Like so distracted. I'm a nightmare for distraction, procrastination. Yeah. We get so distracted and so like dopamine sensors are all mashed up. Mine are a nightmare. Stuff's always giving me grief about it.
Yeah.
And that's the easy win. I don't like being uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I get sort of them hits from the gym, I get them hits from breathing, I get them hits from what's it, but I don't get them hits from fucking sitting in silence or writing down.
No.
So I'm like, why would I do them? I'm not really getting any, intentional right there and then what's it?
But that's the instant gratification thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. It's long,
really.
And like you said, the onion's a really nice one. The sort of, somebody said it the other day about like peel it, feel it and heal it. And doing that onion work is fucking minging. And just as you think you'd finished it, fucking hell, again, I'm going again.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And what a lot of people don't tell you is that on that path and journey, you actually have to shed a lot of people and relationships and jobs, potentially, environments, situations that are no longer serving you because you've moved, you're not the same anymore. And it's really tough and then you have conversations. And Steph saying to me one time when we were in the car, sometimes she feels like she's in a parallel universe. I'm like, get off your pedestal, love. Like, what are you on about? Honest health queen is what she calls herself, isn't it? And I just think, it took me literally 18 months to wrap my head around that. I literally just went, what? But what she actually meant by that is that when you've gone through and not necessarily come out the other side, but when you've got real clarity on who you are, you've got clarity on your purpose, you've got clarity on like what
your vision and your mission and
and not in all areas of life, but like you've got a lot of understanding of self, then you don't resonate as much with other people who aren't A, prepared to do it, or B, have done it, the work. They'll just rather moan and bitch about their lives not being where they want them to be. And I can totally understand what she's saying now. Yeah. Not because I'm out the other side, it's a process, but like imagine a journey. Yeah. Like someone can be further along than another person. It's an interesting one. I'm a massive one. Like I don't ever want to do it on my own. So this is why this has been so hard. Like this last couple of years, it's been brutal because I've had to do it alone. And I'll be saying to her, oh, can you just help me? Can you tell me this? Can you help me on the next step? What should I do here? What should I do there? She's like, no. You got to figure it out. You got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And finally, you get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on the wrong path for a while, mate, in my 20s, but like once I changed paths, I see so many people on the wrong path and they're walking it with these people they should be walking on. But once they've jumped from that path to the path that they should be on, that journey and the purpose, it's like a total different person. Just like you just leave all these people behind.
Yeah, you do. It's purpose is a tricky one for me at the moment. And I'm always cautious because there is like a big like drive in society from lots of people, both people who put out great content on social media and the influencers who are always talking about like purpose and values and vision. I don't know what my purpose is right now, but I'm absolutely all right with that. I made my peace with it because what I do know is that right now what I have and what I can attach myself to is big enough.
But you don't know what your purpose is?
No.
Come on, Josh.
No.
Your purpose is to heal people.
Maybe.
1,000,000%. When you've told me them two stories, your eyes lit up. The purpose is already there within you. I don't think you've ever...
But the point is that it's somewhere around there.
Yeah.
It's someone to help. I like to help. I love to help people.
Yeah.
It brings something to me. But
there's a heal or help then.
You said heal, but
Did I?
heal help. It's something, but around that area.
Yeah.
But because I can't articulate it in a very short, sharp sentence, for me it's not there,
right,
and I'm absolutely all right with that. But what I do know right now is that my kind of overarching goal is to build a career that fits into the life I want to lead.
Would it not be helping people find their purpose? Would that not be your purpose?
Yeah, maybe. I like that. I might steal that.
Yeah, it's yours. It's that. I think that's why you've been. I think you knew that. I think you already knew that. You just don't. I don't think you've maybe thought about it as much as you think.
I've had.
It's a powerful purpose, mate, to help people find theirs.
To be honest, and it might sound stupid, but I've been too busy doing.
Yeah.
I've been too busy focusing on trying to build a life that I want to lead, and I've been too busy, which is anchored to having enough time and money to spend with the people I love doing the things I love.
Mate, that story you told me about that guy refusing 45% more wage because it's in line with his values. Holy shit. I know what that means. I know what that means to say that. And that is powerful. And you giving him that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just see it as like I feel like a steering wheel. And a steering wheel just points people in the right direction, but the other person that you're working with is the whole of the car, and they've got to do the work. You're just like
you navigate.
You don't go anywhere if you're a steering wheel and you're not attached to a car that's actually like putting some effort in. So yeah, you navigate. You can help to build a map. You can be a GPS. You can be a steering wheel, but
yeah,
I don't consider myself to be anything more than that. And the purpose...
It's fucking powerful, that, mate, though.
Yeah.
Innit? Without a navigator in your life, without somebody kind of showing you the way, you're lost.
I like...
What these people are that you're working with are lost. Even though they're probably powerful figures and stuff like that. To say no to somebody because it doesn't align with my values is everything.
Yeah. I like the idea and I always have this idea of being a translator. Actually, I need a translator. I don't know if you know, I live in France. My French is awful, so I need a translator by me all the time. But I use a translator. I think about it as translator because I've got this knowledge, these skills and these experiences from military. I've got them from F2, F3 motorsport. Like one of the guys that I learned so much from is a sports psychologist who was working with half the F1 grid. And like he was applying these strategies that we've just spoken about in a slightly different manner to that group of people. And you can't rip off those things from military and drop them into your life. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because they're protecting people for a living. That's what they do. And you can't take one thing from there and apply it.
Yeah.
It's not plug and play. That's why you need the translator in the middle. You need the person that can say, here's the concept, here's how they use it, here's how you can and should use it, and here's what you should leave behind. And like one of their mantras, which people get stuck on, is this mission team self. Is one of the Special Forces mantras, mission team self. And they're like, I had that drilled into me so hard when I was over there, 3.5 years, even with the guys I lived with, mission team self, like all the time.
Doesn't work in the real life, that, does it?
Sorry?
Doesn't work in real life.
In real life and in sport, and military is probably the only place it does. As I think through, it's probably the only place it does, where what you're actually doing, because sometimes it could be hundreds, tens of thousands, millions of lives that you're saving, and that's why that's more important than yours and the rest of your team.
Yeah.
And I get that, but when you're not dealing with life and death like that, it's self, team, mission. You look after yourself, you prioritise your own well-being, you do what you need to do to become elite and to be a high performer, because that will facilitate the team and you're a part of the team. Therefore, you will raise the standard of the team. From there, the mission will take care of itself. If the elements of the team are all doing what they should to the level that they should be doing it, the mission takes care of itself, which often in sports, winning and losing, or creating a legacy in your life, that's showing up and being the person that you want to be on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
What would happen for somebody who focused so much on the mission?
Same thing that happened to me.
Burnout.
You
So focused on the outcome, you're so focused on...
You don't enjoy the ride. You lose life. I can't remember anything positive happening in my life between the ages, in my social life, between 26 and 31. Because I was so head down, all that mattered was work. Not because there weren't good things happening, but I can't remember them because I was never present even when I was there. Yeah. I was so engaged and so focused on work. I would refuse to do anything on a Saturday night, socially, so that I would be fresh on Sunday to ready to go to work on Monday, which only left the Friday that I would ever do anything. And I would not finish work until 8-ish on a Friday. It's some strange life choices that I made back then, but I wish in lots of ways that, and part of what I do is help people to understand that's not the only way to do it. You can actually have balance in there and create some sustainability, because what I did is not sustainable, and hence the reason I'm no longer pursuing that pathway as much. So, or I will be transitioning out.
That transitioning out now, what does the future look like for Career Blueprint and Josh Fletcher?
So a lot of what I do is with, like I say, in the corporate space. So I work in a lot one-to-one at the moment, and I'm speaking with, I've got loads of different programs that I'm running, which apply a lot of these skills, everything we've just been talking about, to bring into the corporate space for organizations to empower their staff, for organizational leaders to understand how to not only support themselves, but to protect their staff and nurture their talent, essentially, how to look after them. We get so many people who are on that trajectory, that just like rapid rise, and they're just yes people, they go, promotion. This person's a superstar, bang, they're going to drop off.
Yeah.
They're going to drop off because possibly they've got no boundaries. They're going to drop off because they aren't processing and releasing some of that stress and pressure. So a lot of the work I do would be around that. I've also got a group of people that I call the Corporate Avengers, so which is a group of practitioners from predominantly sport world. So I've got F1 performance coaches, I've got people who worked with England rugby, pro football, motorsport, military, like retired Navy SEALs, lecturers of psychology that I've brought together to deliver a product and a service to organisations around how to look after and protect your staff's well-being, how to manage the stresses and pressures that you're under, whilst there's a massive part that you say to organisations, or just control the workload, and it stems from the top. It does stem from the top, but there's often a lot that can't be done from what is sent from the top down, which is why some of that work needs to be done at the top to figure out if there is a better way to do it. but it's also why the individuals on the ground need to be given the skills to be able to cope and manage, and the managers need to be able to know how to support their team of talented people. So that's essentially the work I do. And then within that, there's a lot of that one-to-one work, which is the work that digs deep and helps to kind of really go into on a bespoke level what an individual needs in order to become high performing. And that might be, high performance means something different to someone else, to everybody, but it might be to hit their targets, get promoted to, and in order to do that, they need to rest more effectively. They need to have some boundaries. They need to process stress more effectively in a helpful way. That might be what they need to do. So the strategies are similar.
Yeah.
Or it might be someone who's like really, really struggling to not get emotional, who's bringing their baggage to work, who can't separate these two things, which stress is just everywhere. They can't switch off. They're bringing everything home. It can be all of these different areas. So many people that just need the support, especially in that corporate space. They're massive organisations, and sometimes it's too little, too late. And then the organisations sit up and think, "Wow, like, shit, why did we not do anything about this?" Yeah. Because you're not doing it in a way that's resonating with the people on the ground. And that's what I'm looking to try and do.
How can someone get hold of you, Josh? How can someone get hold of these little workbooks and stuff like that as well that you put out?
Yeah, well, I'll send them all over to you with the
appreciate
links. And I've also got, I'm a little bit more proactive on LinkedIn now than the other channels. So just my name, Josh Fletcher on LinkedIn, be the one with the goofy profile picture. And I also use social media a little bit as well, not so much. Instagram is at Career Blueprint. And then Twitter is at Coach Blueprint, because Career Blueprint was taken. Yeah,
Josh, thank you so much for your time, mate.
My pleasure.
It's been really valuable, mate. Really valuable. I'm going to be fucking like this all the time, mate. Thank you, mate. Thanks for listening, everybody. Goodbye.